In today's video, I'm going to talk about immigration. I'm going to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy's stated views on immigration, as well as I'm going to work into my own thoughts on the subject. Immigration is an interesting case where 80% of the population would probably agree on a sound immigration policy. Most of the population can delineate between legal and illegal immigration, and it's perfectly consistent in my mind to be pro-immigrant and anti-illegal immigration, or to be against people illegally coming into the country. And people illegally coming into the U.S. has been a problem for decades. And politicians in both parties would often pay lip service to the problem, but then they would get in power and not really do a whole lot about it. Both Republican and Democrat Congresses and administrations would do that, pay a lot of lip service to the problem and then not really solve it. And I don't think it's an easy problem to solve, but it's not terribly difficult either. There is thousands of miles of terrain that you would have to secure to stop the majority of illegal immigrants from entering the country. There's also visa reforms that you would have to do, because a lot of people, they don't get here by sneaking across the border, although I believe the majority of them do, but a fairly large minority of them come here by getting a legitimate visa and then just overstaying their visa. They come in legitimately with, say, a student visa or a work visa of some type, and then they just never go back. Their visa expires and they're here illegally. So it's a multifaceted problem, but with enough manpower and surveillance tools and policies that deter people from coming here illegally, you could, for the most part, solve the problem. Which leads one to speculate, why haven't they done it yet? Why are so many politicians resistant to getting serious about protecting the border and controlling the flow of people into the country? Especially since it's such a popular issue for them. If 80% of the country would get behind you, at least on the issue of immigration, if you came up with a sound policy, they're clearly not doing the will of the people then. They're serving some other interest group, and it leads one to speculate, why exactly haven't they solved this problem? But while both parties would typically pay lip service to illegal immigration and pretend like they're going to do something about it in the past, nowadays there's a faction, particularly on the progressive left, that doesn't even want to have a serious conversation about it anymore. They basically just want to demagogue on the issue. They want to pretend like there is no distinction between illegal immigration and legal immigration, which most people support, allowing at least a certain amount of people to come in each year and immigrate to our country. There's a lot of good reasons to support the legitimate practice of people coming to the country, and I even believe it should be expanded. We should secure the southern border and do more to prevent illegal immigration, but we should also expand legal immigration to this country. I could do a whole nother video on the problem of demographic decline. Basically, people aren't having enough children, especially in developed countries, and that's going to create some very real challenges in our demography. We're going to have a large population in retirement not producing things anymore, and not enough young people to fill the positions that are going to be created as this large block of demography goes into retirement. And if you think inflation is bad now, imagine how bad it's going to be when there's not enough people to do the work to make all the stuff that society needs or has become accustomed to. This also has tax implications as well. If there's less people working and paying into the system, there's less people to support all these social welfare programs we've created. There's less people to pay into the Social Security system and the Medicare system. Aging and shrinking populations is going to be a real problem in the future, in my opinion. So a healthy immigration policy that brings in a lot of hardworking, especially young people, because that's what we're going to need the most of in the future. Young people that obey the law, want to work hard, young people with the right ideology, ones that actually like our system, that like freedom. We want to get an immigration policy that encourages the right kind of people to come here. And when I say the right kind of people, I'm not talking about any ethnicity. I'm talking about the quality of the individual. people that want to obey the laws, people that want to work hard, people that will go through the path of citizenship, that will take the civics tests and learn all the things they need to learn to become responsible American citizens. Those are the kind of people we want to come here. We want more of them to come here. People like the Ramaswamys, for example. If we could craft a immigration policy that got us a few 100,000 more of Vivek Ramaswamys, I'd be all for that. And his family came here. He's a second-generation immigrant, so he's actually born here. His family came here. They got educations, and Vivek went on to do great things in this country. He created a lot of value, founded businesses, employed a lot of people, produced pharmaceuticals that added a lot of value to our economy, to our country. And he obeys the law. Those are the kind of people we want more of, and those are the people that a good immigration policy would encourage to come, while keeping out the people that you don't want here. You don't want MS-13 gang members to come here. You don't want drug traffickers and sex traffickers, people that are sneaking into the country for the wrong reasons. You don't want terrorists sneaking across your southern border. And you don't want people coming here illegally. You want people coming through a controlled process. You want a process that tries to help assimilate them into the culture. That's what the citizenship tests are for. You actually have to study to become an American citizen. You want criminal background checks of the people coming here to make sure they don't have a history of causing problems in their country. And I think what I just said, the vast majority of Americans would agree with. Unfortunately, the conversation gets derailed by what I would describe as demagogues, people that just want to demagogue the issue. They want to pretend like there's no difference between legal and illegal immigration, and they want to try to paint the people that want a more controlled system, that want to do something about illegal immigration. They want to paint those people as some kind of bigots. They're xenophobes, or they just don't like different colored people coming to their country, or this and that, and I just find that obnoxious. I understand why politicians will do that. If you can paint your enemy as being xenophobic and racist because they're supposedly anti-immigrant, again, blurring the line between legal immigration and illegal immigration, well, there's a political advantage to that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of useful idiots that fall for this. To reveal my political biases a little bit, I've always viewed Democrats in general and progressive Democrats to be the high emotion, low information voters. They get really worked up about stuff, but they usually have no idea what they're talking about. Because of that, I've never voted for a Democrat in my life. I've voted for libertarians before. I've voted for Republicans. Libertarians tend to be the most analytical people, and they don't get everything right. They don't always agree with each other on things. But with a libertarian, you usually won't get purely emotional argument. You'll get a well thought out, well reasoned argument from first principles. You might not always agree with it. Again, there is disagreement among libertarians. But at least it's going to be an intellectual argument. The left, the other side, the progressives, every once in a while they get something right, but so often all they have is emotional arguments. They do a lot of ad hominems, a lot of just attacking people's character rather than addressing their ideas. They really like to slap labels on people and then just use that. Rather than deal with the idea or the argument that person is giving, they just slap a label on that person, and then they feel they can put them on a shelf and not have to address the legitimate point they might have made. So the progressive left has become very anti-intellectual. Conservatives are often somewhere in between. I consider myself, philosophically anyway, pretty libertarian. There are a few things I disagree with, but you can have a interesting conversation with a libertarian, and it won't usually get very heated. It's just an intellectual disagreement. Conservatives are somewhere in the middle. Like, usually I can disagree with a conservative and have a fruitful conversation about the things we disagree with, and they won't call me a bigot of some kind. We'll just agree to disagree. Not all of them are like that. Some of them behave just like the people on the progressive side that I just described. But for the most part, conservatives are a little more tolerant of other views, as the progressives are very cult-like. If you disagree with them a little bit, they want to excommunicate you and put you in a box and dismiss you entirely and call you bad names. And this is often true when it comes to the immigration topic. and it derails legitimate conversation. And that's annoying and frustrating because it is a serious topic and it deserves serious consideration. Illegal immigration affects us all, and it will affect the country that our children will grow up in. And it's really not that complicated of an issue. To draw a real simple analogy, I have a lock on my front door, and I keep it locked most of the time. Do I keep it locked because I hate people, because I hate visitors, and I don't want to let anyone in my house that doesn't look like me? No, I keep the front door locked because I want to control who comes into my house. I like visitors, but I want to make sure that they're invited guests. I want to make sure that they're people that have the right intentions. Or maybe I let the maintenance guy in every once in a while because I called him and I need somebody to work on my plumbing or my furnace or something like that. So I want to make sure the people coming into my house are good actors and have a good reason for being there. I don't want the burglars and derelicts to sneak into my front door, so that's why I keep it locked. To control the flow of people. Let's say one night I'm minding my own business and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door and it's a woman in distress and she's going on about some problem she's got and she needs help. Well, in that case, I'm going to be sympathetic to her. I'm still going to be a little bit suspicious because for all I know this is some ruse. Maybe there's two burly home invaders hiding in the bushes waiting to rush in as soon as I open the door for this woman. But, I'm going to keep my wits about me, try to help her, get the police involved, try to make sure that she's safe on my porch until authorities arrive, and then assess whether or not she has a real problem. For progressives, that might be a little bit slow. That example in my analogy, that's an asylum seeker. I want to make sure they have a legitimate asylum case before I just let them loose into my country. But what's true on a micro level, say the example of my house, is true as you scale things up. Some people want to pretend like this isn't an apt comparison, but it's exactly applicable. Let's use the example of a gated community or maybe a condo or an apartment building with a locked lobby. Why do they have that? Is it because the people that live there just hate guests and they don't want to have anybody over ever? No, again, it's to control the flow of people, to make sure that bad actors aren't coming into your building and causing havoc. So you have a locked lobby, you have an intercom system, somebody that owns an apartment unit or a condo in that building has to buzz you in. So you have to have a reason for coming to that place to get in. And there's some control over it. This isn't a difficult concept to grasp. Now, scale that up to the nation. We want to make sure the people coming in are good people with good reasons to be here. People that are going to add value to our system, especially if we're going to allow them to become citizens here. And the people that already live here, the people that are already citizens, that pay taxes, that work and add value to the society, it's well within their rights to control the flow of people that come to this nation. It's well within their rights to demand that those people be screened and have to go through, if they want to become citizens, they have to go through some sort of civic training. They have to go through a background check to make sure that they're not known criminals in the country that they're from. And this is all simple stuff. To pretend like it's more complicated and that there's no distinction between legal immigration is just ridiculous. A child could understand this. And politicians love to play lip service to this. I'm going to play a clip of Bill Clinton saying this, and then Obama basically plagiarizing him and saying the exact same thing.
Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
A future where the promise of America is kept for a new generation. We also know that keeping this promise means upholding America's tradition as a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. Those things aren't contradictory. They're complementary. That's why I'm committed to passing comprehensive immigration reform as President of the United States.
And then all of a sudden when Trump gets elected and says the same kind of stuff, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's xenophobic. No, he's not. Some people are just being stupid and demagoguing on this issue, which is unfortunate, because like I said, this is a real problem. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to secure our borders and have a sound immigration policy. And that's where Vivek's at, at least rhetorically. He's paying good lip service to the problem. And he has some credibility in it because he's the son of immigrants. But his family did it the right way. And he's a good example of the type of people that we want to immigrate to this country. I don't care what part of the world our immigrants come from. I don't care what skin color they have. But I do care that they're law-abiding, good people that want to work hard and add value to our system versus potentially criminals or radicals or terrorists of some kind. And we have an interest in making it an orderly process. There's a limit to how many people can assimilate into a country at a given time. And they're going to tax resources in the communities they end up settling in. That can be managed, but it needs to be a controlled process. In short, we want to make sure that our country's immigration policy is serving the interest of the people that already live here. So that's my 2 cents, and that's what I like about Vivek. There's no ambiguity in his rhetoric. Obviously, until you get into office, rhetoric is just rhetoric. But he seems like a straightforward guy that has a coherent understanding of immigration.
I'll speak as a kid of immigrants, first-generation American. Okay, I agree with everything you said. Immigrants come not as victims, but as underdogs to this country. I think they can be the lifeblood of the American dream. I will say this, is that we sidestep. We're talking about the stunt. I'm done talking about the stunt. Let's talk about the actual issue that people disagree on, which is, can a country legitimately decide who does and doesn't get to enter its borders? I think that a country can legitimately make that decision. A lot of progressives on the other side say that they can't legitimately make that decision, that we need open borders. Great, let's have that debate. I personally think that
they don't say open borders.
Well, some do. Farhad Manjoo in the New York Times has made the case for it.
For completely open borders, like come one, come all?
I think there's a spectrum of opinions. At the far left end of the spectrum, there's absolutely a case for open borders.
But most Democrats would not say open borders. It appears that way. I take your point. Because when you're not willing to say who can't come in, it does sound like you want open borders. And the reason why the Democrats, let's be honest, won't say that is because they fear more than anything being thought of as racist.
Sure. And once we use labels, racist, xenophobic, pick your label of choice, we lose the ability to have the actual debate. And I think there's a rich debate to say that, there should be a lottery system. It's what we have in this country for many immigrants. It's a lottery system. It's random. I don't like that approach even to legal immigration. I think we should be selective about picking the people who want to come to this country to be part of its ideals, to purposefully opt in and say that, I want to be a citizen of that country. Don't make them take the citizenship test after their 7 years of green card. Make them actually opt into it and take a civic test before they get into this country. I think we should open the front door as much as we can for people who want to opt in, but close the door to the rest. Let's have a clear-headed debate about it. I think that could lead to a more sensible policy.
You've been watching the Fletch Report. If you're hearing this, it means you've made it to the end of the video. But before you click onto the next thing and continue down whatever rabbit hole you're on YouTube or Rumble, I've got a small favor to ask. If you found value in my content and you want to help the channel out, the best thing you can do is share it with somebody else that you think will find value in it. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Links to the channel on YouTube and Rumble will be provided below. Additionally, I'm making a Facebook page for the channel as well as a X/formerly Twitter. Feel free to follow me on those platforms as well. If you're feeling exceptionally generous, provided in the description below will be a link to Buy Me a Coffee, which is the online equivalent of a tip jar. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the channel.